It's live, Rabbi.
Okay. Shalom Aleichem. As we prepare for Rosh Hashana, a brand new year, there is a statement in the Gemara, Kol Hashana Kol Esau, Tach Hashana B'Chesau. 1 year finishes with its negativity, and the next year starts with its brachas. We don't have to wait for the next year. We can already start now having the sweetness and the goodness that Hashem has in store for us this coming year. We can already begin to taste it already today. I know that this year I won't be able to share a story from Malav Malka this week because after Shabbos it's still Yontif. So I won't be able to share a story with you on Motzei Shabbos. So I want to share with you a story tonight, and hopefully something that's really, really special that inspired me tremendously, and I want to share with you as well. Yehuda, how many people you need to have for a Farbrengen, you know? Farbrengen, you would think a Farbrengen has to be with a minyan. You have 10 people together, there's a Farbrengen. You have a Shechina. It's not true. What's unique about a Farbrengen is that people get together, that there's unity, there's Avos Yisrael, that we really get together, that we let all the separations between one person and another are moved away, and this causes tremendous pleasure to Hashem, so much so that the Alter Rebbe said that when you wish another person well by a Farbrengen, it accomplishes more than Malach Mochel. The Alter Rebbe said that a paper came from heaven. I don't know what that means, but it says a paper came from heaven. The paper said that a Hasidic Farbrengen can accomplish more than Malach Mochel. The reason it could accomplish so much is not because there's a minyan there. It's because Hashem has so much pleasure when his kids come home. When two Jews get together and let go of all the things that separate them, that means they're getting in touch with their neshama, because what separates me and you is that you have one body, I have another body. But if I really get connected with another person with Avos Yisrael, so all what separates me and you fades away. It's like you and I are as if going back to Gan Eden. In Gan Eden, there's no separation. There are no separate bodies. So there's total love there. So that's why Hashem has so much pleasure when Jews get together that his kids came home. So Hashem says, you guys came home. What do you want? So let's begin with a bracha. Let's wish each other. You should have tremendous nachas from all yours, Yehuda. And I see El family. I think that's my children. And Chayel and Rezel Mirel and Chaim Mushka should have a tremendous year of bracha, v'atzlacha, begashmis, v'ruchnius, and we should see Mashiach Tzidkeinu right away. L'chaim. I want to tell you a story about the Tzemach Tzedek, because tonight is the Tzemach Tzedek's birthday, and this story I'm going to share with you is an intro to something unbelievable. Unbelievable. Devorah Marvi asked me, what is the acronym of this year? You know, the Rebbe made such a emphasis on how every year there's a special acronym, there's a special meaning of the name of the number of each year. So 5781 must have a number. So she asked me, what's the number? What does that number mean? And I said, only the Rebbe knows what it really means. Everyone can guess, but she says, but look into it. If the Rebbe put such an emphasis into it, shouldn't we try to find out what it means? That's what she told me, and I promised her I would, and I did. I discovered that the Rebbe himself spoke about the acronym of this coming year. That means the Rebbe spoke about the energy of what this new year is about. There's so many things that you know, we get messages all the day from WhatsApp and text messages and emails and advertisements. This is real. The Rebbe actually spoke about the energy of the coming year. And it's something so heartwarming and so uplifting and so in sync with what the day before Rosh Hashana is about. The day before Rosh Hashana used to be a custom, don't do this tomorrow, and don't say that I told you to do this, because I am not telling you to do this. But people would always wear white the day before Rosh Hashana. Why? to celebrate and to show Hashem that we're already celebrating the good year. We're sure, we're positive, we're trusting in you. They're going to give us a good year. So we already therefore we're wearing the white clothing, the celebratory white clothing to show that we know we got it made. And when God sees that we express such joy, Hashem has, so to speak, no choice but to give us what we're asking for. It's a story I told my daughter, Razel Merrill, a long time ago. I don't think you remember this story because you were very little when I told you the story, Razel Merrill. I told you a story about this tzaddik who was hungry one time. And he was a little boy. And he wanted to have a snack. And his father and mother thought it was dinner time. And he shouldn't have this snack. So what did this little boy was very smart. So you know what he did? He said, Baruch atah Hashem k'melech ni'ad. He made the bracha. And his parents didn't want the bracha to be in vain. They had to give him what he asked for. He said the bracha on it already. So they gave him what he had asked for. They gave him the candy that he had asked for because he made a bracha. So in a similar way, the Rebbe says that Hashem is our Tati, Hashem is our Father. When Hashem sees how we're happy about something, before Hashem even gave it to us, we're sure He's going to give it to us. Hashem sees us so joyful about what He's going to give to us. So Hashem has no choice. He sees how much we trust in Him. We see we're so happy already. Hashem has no choice but to give us even something that wasn't part of the plan originally, but Hashem has to give us what we ask for, seeing how much we trust in Him. A similar thing, which is very pertinent to this year as well. Rabbi Levi Berditchev said he used to speak to Hashem like an attorney, like a lawyer on behalf of the Jewish people. He used to say to Hashem all kinds of things that were for us we considered very chutzpahdik, very instant. He says, God, in your Torah, it says not to write on Shabbat. You're not allowed to write on Shabbat. How can you write the verdict of what's going to happen to every Jew on Shabbat? You're not allowed to write, it says so in your Torah. So he said to Hashem, the only way you're able to write something on Shabbat is if it's to save someone's life. You can't write on Shabbat a death penalty for someone on Shabbat. The only thing you're allowed to write on Shabbat is something good that's going to happen. Therefore, I believe it's Berditchev used to say, when Hashana falls out on Shabbos, it's certain that Hashem is only writing good things because He keeps His Torah. Hashana falls out on Shabbos, you could only write good things. And therefore, for sure, the judgment this year is not a judgment, it's a proclamation of goodness. But there's something even more this year, which I want to share with you, but I want you to appreciate what I'm going to share with you, and therefore I want to tell you the story right now, which will help you in the mood of this incredible thing that the Rebbe said about this coming year, foretold about what's going to happen this year. I want to point out that there is no other year since the Rebbe spoke about the acronyms of the years in 1992, 93, that the Rebbe any hint of any the Rebbe's writings about what the name of that year is. Not 5756, and that's 5758 until 5781. But before I get there, let me tell you the story. As promised, every Saturday night I share with you guys a story. So this is an intro to this Motzei Shabbos. If you don't, it's also Mlava Malka. The second night of Rosh Hashana is also Mlava Malka. So here's a story for the Mlava Malka. The Tzemach Tzedek was consulted by rabbis all over the world for the following problem. In the time of Tzemach Tzedek, because of various wars that had happened, there were many people that were missing in action, soldiers, and their wives were left in an aguna state. An aguna is someone who is married but doesn't know where their husband is, or their husband refuses shalom to give a divorce. And now the wife is left; she cannot remarry because she's halachically still married to her first husband. So the Tzemach Tzedek was consulted for two reasons. Reason number one was because he was the most knowledgeable in Torah in his time, and therefore he would be able to find out any halachic loophole that would allow someone who is married to someone and maybe the person passed away, and halacha has a definition of what when we say that, when we don't say that. So all the rabbis around the world would consult with him about various serious situations, trying to figure out if we could permit someone to get married. And second of all, he was blessed with divine inspiration, with Ruach HaKodesh, and he could tell people things that no one else could know because Hashem would tell him different things. So that's why people from all over the world. The Tzemach Tzedek had literally, the previous Rebbe writes, 600,000 chassidim. There wasn't that many Jews in those times, and yet he had almost 750,000 chassidim, not just sympathizers, but actually, the full 9 yards. Anyways, this woman had traveled together with her son to visit Tzemach Tzedek. At that time, the Tzemach Tzedek's custom was that people would go to the antechamber outside his room. A woman who didn't know where her husband was would go out the antechamber, and she would tell the Tzemach Tzedek what's going on, and Tzemach Tzedek would speak to his gabbai, to his attendant, and to the woman, and give instruction. This person should go to Moscow to find her husband. This person should talk to her brother. All instruction that, beyond what we as human beings can relate to, messages from heaven that he was given. But there were a lot of people that were visiting at the time that our story took place. So this woman was by the Tzemach Tzedek for several weeks without being allowed to talk to Tzemach Tzedek because there was just such a big line. And her son was mute. He couldn't speak and he couldn't hear. And she wanted very badly to know what to do. And she came pretty often. She would bring food to the home of Tzemach Tzedek, and she was waiting for her audience. And I'm not sure exactly what motivated her, probably because it was such a long time, but she asked her son to hide under the Tzemach Tzedek's table and give the Tzemach Tzedek a letter from her, hoping that this would speed up the process. She should get an answer for what she should do about her husband. Her husband had been missing for 7 years. So when the attendant of the Tzemach Tzedek, put yourself in this guy's shoes. He's working hard. People are trying to break the rules all the time. They have good reason to. They want to speak to Tzemach Tzedek. But he when he saw the boy under the table, he got so angry, he yelled at the boy, and Tzemach Tzedek said, "Pure faith gives light to the eyes. God gave greatness to some special people for the sake of the Jewish people. Pure faith gives light to the eyes. God gives the Jewish people greatness, for certain people greatness for the sake of the Jewish people." And then the Tzemach Tzedek said to the boy, he told the boy, "Go tell your mother that your father is alive, and that she should travel to Denver. Tell your hi Razel Merrill, I see you. Travel to what city? City is called Denver. Go to Denver and tell Razel Merrill, tell Chaim Mushka and Zalman to sit next to you and listen to the story. Okay? So
Kai is using the computer.
okay, good. I see you're on. All right. Tell your mother that daddy is alive, she should travel to Denver. Okay. So the boy goes and tells his mother. He was not able to speak, but he went to tell his mother that dad is alive and he's in Denver and he should travel to Denver. And she fainted because it was a double miracle. Here she gets the instruction from the Tzemach Tzedek about where her husband is and he's alive. Second of all, her son could speak. So it was an astounding miracle. Now, all the part I told you till now of this story is a story that the previous Rebbe writes. The next part of the story is it's a Farbrengen, so we don't have to share everything from the book. I usually try to share everything, only the things that are written clearly that I know for sure. But this is what I've heard from many, many times from many chassidim, an addendum to the story. Another part to the story. The Tzemach Tzedek used to say about himself that he's not a miracle worker, doesn't do miracles. He is a Chabad Rebbe. Chabad is about teaching the inner wisdom of the Torah. It's not about the miracles. And in previous generations, miracles were downplayed. It wasn't highlighted as much as today. Today, we need to encourage each other with sharing miracle stories. The Gemara says, the Talmud says that Hashem wanted to make a certain king, Hizkiah, Mashiach, and the only reason he didn't make a Mashiach was because he didn't sing to God for the miracles that God did for him. So it's an important thing to bring Mashiach to talk about the miracles of God. But either way, time of the Tzemach Tzedek, that wasn't what needed to be done. And the Tzemach Tzedek discounted the things that were said about him, So his son said to his father, "What about that woman and her husband from Denmark. So Tzemach Tzedek said that he happened to speak to someone who described someone from Denmark. So because of divine providence, he realized that this is her husband. Now, would you and I realize that? Does that make any sense for our ears? My uncle was once by an audience with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe asked him what his mother's name was, what his grandmother's name was. So he told the Rebbe, my mother's, I don't know my grandmother's name. Her name is Bubby. My grandmother's name, I don't know her name. So the Rebbe said to my Uncle Yoska Levin, the Rebbe said to him, if your mother's name is Yehudis, probably your grandmother's name is Sarah. Now, does that make sense to you? If your mother's name is Yehudis, then your grandmother's name is Sarah. I'm sure that many people whose mother's name is Yehudis, their grandmother's name is not Sarah, but it's something of a different world. But either way, that's what Tzemach Tzedek says. He said, that's my great grandmother's name is, and my grandmother's name is Yehudis, and her mother's name was Sarah. Either way, so the Tzemach Tzedek said that he put two and two together by divine providence. Okay. Then his son said to him, but Dad, but Tati, but how did the boy suddenly, what granted him the ability to speak? So Tzemach Tzedek said, and how was I to know that he was mute? In other words, the Tzemach Tzedek made that miracle nonchalantly. He said, go tell your mother. And when the tzaddik speaks, the Talmud says, when a tzaddik speaks, God fulfills the words of a tzaddik. So since he said, go tell your mother, he couldn't speak before. But because the tzaddik said, go tell your mother, he was suddenly able to speak. My grandfather, Rabbi Farbrengen shalom, used to share a teaching that he had heard from the chassidim before him. There's a difference between a prophet and a rebbe. The difference is that a prophet tells us things that are going to happen. Whatever is going to happen, he says. A rebbe, whatever he says is going to happen. You hear the difference? A prophet tells us what is in store. A rebbe, by saying what's going to happen, that makes it happen. Whatever he says will happen. A prophet, whatever will happen, he says. It's different. A prophet, whatever will happen, he says. Whatever he says will happen. Now, the Medrash says that fish, although they're in the water all the time, when it rains, they go to the surface of the water to get a new drop of rain. I've shared with you different things that were discovered that the Rebbe had shared before, but no one had printed them, no one had discovered them. What I'm sharing with you now was printed 30 years ago. But for some reason, no one noticed it. In 1991, the Rebbe spoke about the miracles and wonders that God will do for the Jewish people. The Rebbe said that the acronym of the year, Tafshin Nun Aleph, 1991, means Tehei Shnas Neflois Arenu. This will be a year where God will show us wonders. And that was the year of the Gulf War. And there's so many miracles that happened that year. And I was studying in yeshiva and here in Los Angeles. And when I heard that the first time that a Scud missile had hit Israel, and I was thinking, like, how could this be? The Rebbe said that Israel's the safest place in the world. What's going on? And then we started hearing about all the miracles that were going on, how people were miraculously like walking between the raindrops in Israel, and God protected the Jewish people amid all these rockets. Unbelievable. General Schwarzkopf, I remember hearing this myself on the radio. Bad, don't listen to the radio. Okay, but I heard this myself on the radio. General Schwarzkopf was being interviewed. They asked General Schwarzkopf, why didn't Iraq use chemical warfare? He said, it is just a miracle of God. There's no way to explain this. That's what he said. I heard it. Tehei Shnas Neflois Arenu was a year of tremendous miracles. That was the year where there was the end of communism and many other miracles that the Rebbe spoke about throughout the year. God is showing us miracles. Okay. In this particular talk that I'm quoting from, which was from Teves in 1991, the Rebbe said that the year 1991 corresponds to the year, this coming year, Tehei Shnas Plois Arenu. This coming year is Tafshin Pei Al, 5781. The word Pei Aleph, if you switch around the Pei for the Aleph, it spells the word Af, which means anger, which means negativity, which means the opposite of good. So the Rebbe says, out of the Af, out of the anger, out of the angst, out of the frustration, out of the tears, out of the bitterness, out of all the negativity, emerges, plois arenu, that God will perform miracles and wonders and good things to Jewish people. It's coming from darkness, it's coming from hardship, it's coming from difficulty, and then all of a sudden, the Torah says, the Torah says, when Mashiach will come with tears, and it will come with tears. It will be so wonderful, so good, and it will be such a change from what we're used to. The Greeks have a philosophy, lahavdil, that you can't know goodness until you've known pain. You can't really appreciate light until you have darkness. That's not our philosophy. Our philosophy works, it sounds similar, but it's very different. Our philosophy, the Torah's philosophy, Hasidic philosophy, is that darkness itself is a source for light. That darkness itself is transformed to an even higher light. So it's not just we'll appreciate the goodness of this year, but out of all the darkness of this past year will emerge plois arenu, tremendous miracles and wonders of this coming year. And we have to wait till next year. Start already this year. We can already feel the goodness and sweetness of the coming year already now. I don't have to talk about the negativity. You all get what I'm talking about. Plois arenu. So that's what the Rebbe said then about this coming year. Tehei shnas plois arenu. That's the acronym of this coming year. You heard this? Unbelievable. So
just also remind me that you have Me'ashpot Yarim Evion. So whatever we had this year, so now the next year will be much better than before.
Not just much better. There is Yiddish comedians who say that Tehei Shnas Pei Aleph stands for Tehei Ois Tavshin Pei. At least we're done with the past year. It's not what this means. The Rebbe is saying that out of all the darkness comes Me'ez Yatza Matok. It's similar to what the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov said, it says in the Pasuk, it was a time of trouble for Yaakov, and they were saved from it. Baal Shem Tov says the problem itself became the source of the salvation. And when Mashiach will come, we're going to understand all of the angst we all felt, all the tears we shed, were all for the purpose of the tears that we're going to, in a moment Mashiach comes, we're going to cry with joy. Tremendous things are going to happen when Mashiach comes. So we have only a few more minutes till the end of this Farbrengen. I just want to share with you one more thought until we have another less than 24 hours till the new year. I want to share with you one more thought about preparation for this coming year, getting into the mode of this of this incredible year that's coming. Hashem is showing us wonders. We have to also show our own wonders, reveal the wonders which are within ourselves. I'll tell you one more story. Tzemach Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek had a chassid who was a drunken guy, a drunkard. He used to make watches.
Oh my goodness.
He wouldn't make so many watches because he used to get drunk all the time. So his family came to Tzemach Tzedek. They told Tzemach Tzedek, hey, we have a problem. Our dad, our uncle, our friend, our brother, he can't make the watches anymore. He's always getting drunk. Got to do something for this guy. We have an idea. How about instruct him from now on, instead of making watches, let him make shoes. You can't make watches when you're drunk, but you could probably make shoes. So can you advise him to get into the shoe industry instead of the watch industry? Tzemach Tzedek said, no, not a good idea. Why not? He said, in the end, this guy will sober out. And when he sobers out, he's going to want to go back to making watches. But his hands will have become coarsened by making the shoes. And you need like a certain kind of sensitivity for the precision that's needed to make watches. And he will no longer be able to make watches. Tzemach Tzedek was telling this family, don't lower the bar. Don't lower the bar. Just because of all the mistakes that have happened until this point, don't keep your eyes out for number one. Don't lower the bar. Don't say to yourself a falseness that because the mistakes you made until now, you're doomed to continue the same mistakes. This boy wrote to the Rebbe that he feels that all the Judaism he's keeping has no effect on him. The Torah he's learning, the chassidus he's learning, doesn't help him. He's stuck to be the same miserable spiritual state he has till now. He's always going to stay that way. So the Rebbe said to him two answers. One answer the Rebbe said is it's impossible. You don't know what Torah does for you. There's something that it does, you may not see it. The second answer the Rebbe said to him was, it's a new year is coming. A new year is a new energy. So maybe whatever happened, New Year is coming. In a similar way, on the day of Rosh Hashanah, there's renewal of each of us. There's a renewal. It's a fresh thing. It's a fresh start. Hashem made Adam. He made the first man on this day, and each one of us, God, so to speak, recreates out of nothingness on Rosh Hashanah. And every Jew, God calls each of us, the branch of my planting, the work of my hands to be proud of. So God tells each of us, I'm proud of you, and therefore you have no connection to anything negative. A Jew has to feel whatever has happened, but I have no connection to anything negative because I am the branch of God's planting. And the Rebbe says these words. Here, Yehuda, these words I'm quoting from Tafshin Lamed Daled, Erev Rosh Hashanah. Before Rosh Hashanah, the Rebbe would always lead a Farbrengen. The Rebbe shared this Farbrengen that in a moment, a Jew can correct the entire past year. Because the day before Rosh Hashanah, we wear white and we're positive and we realize who we are and who we are inside, and we let go of all the negativity and we make us fresh new start for the coming year. We get that erases all the negativity the past year and brings a bracha for the coming year. But we're able to completely say to ourselves and to Hashem that we have no connection to anything negative. We're the branch of God's planting, the work of His hand. We have no connection to anything negative, and become nitzav lifnei Hashem, to stand before Hashem. Give me 1 more minute. I'm almost done. 1 second. What this means is, I always was bothered that Hashem has a smiling face in Elul, and then He loses a smile, it seems, Rosh Hashanah. Today I saw, in this talk I'm quoting from, the Rebbe says, and by doing acts of kindness, the day before Rosh Hashanah, in general, the day before Rosh Hashanah is about prayer. We get up early, we say more prayers before Rosh Hashanah. But in addition to prayer, the Torah says the world stands on 3 things: on prayer, on Torah, and kindness. So it's possible for us to start fresh day before Rosh Hashanah and to make l'chatchila river, to go straight over all the obstacles we've had until now, all the things we limited ourselves until now, and to make a fresh new addition. The Rebbe says, the day before Hashanah, we should make a new addition beyond everything we're used to. The day before Hashanah in our prayers, and add to our Torah study, and add especially to our kindness. The day before Hashanah, giving more tzedakah, learning more Torah, more prayers, in a way of Chatchila Rebbe. But the Rebbe adds a line: do this with pleasure. In general, this year is since Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbos, Shabbos is associated with pleasure, so it's a year of pleasure. And the Rebbe told my Rabbi Fogelman, my grandfather, the previous Rebbe told my grandfather, whatever you do, do with pleasure. Do with Farbrengen. Farbrengen is Yiddish for enjoy it. So the last 24 hours before Rosh Hashanah, we have to jump forward and adding tremendous amount of Torah, amount of prayer, and bring it all down with kindness. And we're able to correct the entire past year in a moment by jumping forward beyond all that we're used to. And that will cause God to bring a smiling face with Him from the field. God is called the king in the field in Elul. But God will take His smiling face with Him from the field to the palace. And He will bless all of us with tremendous bracha and atzlacha and simcha and ployes arenu. And we will see the tremendous good, amazing wonders of the coming year, before this coming year, the coming Mashiach right away. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'bracha. Chaim of Isaac. Isaac, I see your face, Isaac. Chaim, l'chaim. See what's in the attention of Sukkah Yehuda. Rosie, l'chaim, l'chaim, l'bracha. See what's in the teva. I love you, Reza Miro. What? I'll see you soon. I'm coming home. I'll see you soon. Anyone want to add something?
I want to say that there's 613 mitzvahs.
Very good. You're 100% right. It's 613 mitzvahs. But we have to focus on 3 parts, 3 of them this last 24 hours. Torah, prayer, and kindness. That's the call of the hour. That's what makes the world stand on these 3 pillars. Also, each individual small world stands on these 3 pillars. And that this merit, Hashem will grant us all good in Gashmius, good physically, good spiritually. And Hashem gives the Jewish people lots of physical blessing. As Alter Rebbe says, that with all the physical things that God gives us, we can create tremendous spiritual bounty. Let's see that happen. Take from your mamish. L'chaim, l'chaim. Shiach now. Chassidus and Matei Shantei Mesuka.